Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botch Bots and Share Shots, powered by Last Word on Sports. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and joining me tonight is the ultra-violent samurai. He is the Death Fighter Akira. Akira, thanks for coming on Chat About Some Wrestling with me, brother. How are you?
I literally just got off the plane from Prestige, so I'm tired, but I'm here.
That's very close to the top of the list. When I woke up this morning and saw what you were doing, I was like, well, that's convenient. That's a talking point if I've ever seen one.
Might as well use it.
For sure. Yeah, it makes the job easy for sure. Before we get diving into the here and now, I kind of always start with the same question to start the conversation. And it's kind of our basis. It's the icebreaker. It's the origin story. Every Marvel character has one. Every pro wrestler has one. When you decided, okay, I want to be a pro wrestler, what was that first year like for you when you came into the business, as they say?
So, I mean, to give a little bit of backstory, I grew up around wrestling. I was like, wrestling was always kind of in my life. My dad was always watching either WWF, WCW, and then eventually ECW. My uncle was much more of the nerd between the two, so he had like New Japan tapes, just like tapes of like all the other promotions that you're not normal, like all the things that tape traders would try to obtain. I was watching it. I love like, in terms of like WWF, it was like Bret Hart, then became The Rock. I think those were my two guys. WCW was like DDP. I always loved Sting. Ultimo Dragon I always thought was cool, just because the name just sounds cool. And then ECW, it was Raven, it was Tajiri, Terry Funk. Those like, they were just the bigger than life characters that stuck out to me. It wasn't like I cared about the wrestling moves or anything. I just thought they were cool. And, as time goes on, you grow up and you kind of fall out of love with some things that you were kind of growing up with. Not that they did anything wrong. It was just, you become a teenager, you get stuck with your own teenage angst and your own self-misery, and you kind of dwell on that. I was very much focused on, I guess, because where I'm from, I'm from the middle of Indiana. I'm the middle of nowhere. And I was the only minority kid. People can say they can call me white, whatever they want to say. But when I grew up, I had like a bowl cut. I looked like I was from a Gamera movie. I was very, very prototypical little Asian kid. And I grew up and I received the short end of the stick in a lot of ways. I heard all the slurs in the world, all the crap in the world, especially being the only minority kid up until like I was thinking like junior high. And that's when some like more kids started to move in. And I kind of wanted to disassociate from being Asian, just because I was, I was called every name in the book. You kind of want to step away from those things because you feel embarrassed. So then I went to college, and I became friends with guys who were into wrestling. And I think it was like my beginning of my sophomore year. I sat down with them, and maybe it was the end of my freshman year. Yeah, maybe end of the freshman year. I became friends with these guys, and they were having a Royal Rumble party, and I just started watching it again. But like I'd already been kind of getting back into it, but it wasn't like I was watching like WWF. It was like I was watching Ring of Honor, things like that. And around that time, that's when I first got back into it. Was I watched a Minoru Suzuki match. I watched and I think it was one of the Nakamura Wrestle Kingdom matches. I was like looking through Reddit or something, and someone posted those matches, and I was like, "Whoa, this is wrestling! This is so cool!" I just completely forgotten about the things I grew up watching, and then I started watching WWF again, or WWE, because my friends were watching it, and then it was something we do every Monday and Friday, even though WWE during those times was terrible. It was miserable. I don't know why I watched it. I just get mad watching it from a artistic standpoint. But that's how I fell back into the cycle of things, and I started again branching out even more. I went from New Japan. I started watching Noah, older Noah, like mid 2000s Noah that I missed because I stopped watching wrestling, and because I didn't have internet, so I really wouldn't have been able to see any pro wrestling Noah matches or anything like that to begin with. From where I was in the middle of nowhere in Indiana, I didn't have any. I had like dial-up internet until I went to college actually, and I just kept with it. It never fell out of it, and I graduated college, went back to middle Indiana, started working like numerous different jobs that I hated, and I went to a house show where I saw I think it was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I saw I'm gonna get compared to this regardless. I saw AJ Styles versus a certain guy named Dean Ambrose, who we know as Jon Moxley, and I watched that match. It was a TLC house show, and I decided right then and there I was like, I'm gonna be a wrestler. I missed being an athlete because I was a college swimmer. I like being creative. I was always an artist at mind. I'm a musician as well, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do this. I am going to dive in head first. I don't care what happens. And so I started training. I'd work 2 jobs, and I would go train every weekend. I'd hop in the car. I'd go to my trainer's house, which was 3 hours away because every other school around me closed, and I would sleep on his bed, which was a dirty, dirty, dirty bed in a dirty, dirty, dirty house, for the whole weekend, just so I can get more ring time, so I could work harder and debut faster. I was like one of 2 students, and just through there, I kept working. I was supposed to debut. I got sick, so it got pushed back. I debuted in January of 2018, but coincidentally, because it's going to lead into the match that we're going to talk about. When I first started training, I went to a War of the Worlds Ring of Honor pay-per-view too, and Minoru Suzuki made his return, I think, to the United States. I think that was his big return before he wrestled Cody Rhodes. And me and my stupid childish mentality, because I didn't know any better, I wrote a letter to him, and I gave it I think it was to Frankie Kazarian. And I go, Mr. Kazarian, can you give this to Suzuki? Because it was like $100 for a meet and greet, and I couldn't afford it, whatever it was. And I said, can you please give this to him? And he said, sure, kid. And I don't think he ever did. I don't know if he did. But it was a letter saying like, I want to be in Suzuki-gun. I'm like, I don't care about Bullet Club. I want to be in Suzuki-gun. I want to be trained by. I want to be like a student of you, because I looked up to him even then. So I debuted, and I just hit the road. Like that's basically all I did was I just hit the road, because there was no real like clear path. It wasn't like I was in a regular school either. My trainer, when it came time to graduate, I just was kicked out, and he's like, go, get out of here. Don't stay in this one area. You're not going to get better. Go to seminars, do what you got to do. He's like, you have my blessing to get out of here. And that's what happened. And eventually it led to me doing death matches. I just went to a show, and I got invited to go to Mexico. And I said, okay. And I went to Mexico. I wasn't even on the show that was happening. And I get there, and the guy goes, hey, someone no show. Do you want to do death match? And I was like 25, 26, maybe I think it was 24, 25. And I go, oh, okay. Because death matches terrified me. I thought they were cool at that point because I saw Kasai versus Cologne, and I thought death matches could be really beautiful. But actually doing one was terrifying to me. But I went in there and I did it, and I got addicted to it. It was just like that. And literally all of my career just started spiraling off of that. It was just a domino effect until it got to where we're at today. People trying to tell me that I couldn't be a certain thing. You can't be a hard-hitting guy. You can't be a deathmatch guy. You can't be a deathmatch guy that works regular matches, and then you can't get on any kind of televised promotion. And my entire career has just been proving people wrong. And I guess you could say if you want an origin story, that's my origin story. I literally lived the life and lived the road of a lonely warrior because I did the pilgrimage on my own. I didn't have a school. I didn't have a team. I had a village that was raising me. I had mentors along the way.
All right, you brought him up, and like I
Yeah.
said, you just got off the plane from working the match. You had a
Yeah.
chance to work Minoru Suzuki.
Yes.
He's a living legend in the community and inside the wrestling world.
Mhm.
The internet wrestling community lovingly tags him the Murder Grandpa.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? What was it like for you to have a chance to finally lock up with him and go one-on-one with Minoru?
Uh, Surreal. You'll see it in my face even when he's making his entrance. My mind is just like I don't know what, like, I'm just ready to do it. I'm even out there. I'm singing. I sang a little bit of his music. I muttered it. Um, but you're in there. I'm in there with one of like the people that got me back into wrestling. Like I have a small Rushmore of people that I consider like my favorites in the world. Minoru Suzuki, Shinsuke Nakamura, Katsuyori Shibata, um, Sakuraba, Kazushi Sakuraba, who is, you know, a great pro wrestler and a great fighter, and Jun Kasai. Like those are the guys that I made me who I am, and also made me to be the wrestler that I wanted to be. Um, and to be in there with him, like the dude has done everything. You know, King of Pancrase, literally helped kickstart mixed martial arts. Has beaten Ken Shamrock, has done every style of match you can think of, has won the Triple Crown, has won all these accolades, and I went in there with him, and I just knew I was thinking about the match. I just knew that like I've seen other people wrestle him, and they shell up and they're timid and they don't show any grit fire. And I said, no, I'm gonna out this old motherfucker, and I'm gonna give him back just what he's gonna give me. So when he called me young boy, I said the craziest things anyone's ever probably called him. I said, said, come on, you old fucking man, and everyone was like, what did you say to him? But it's not from a thing of disrespect. It was just I am not gonna just take your shit, dude. I I idolize you. You know, you can do everything. You're one of the best pro wrestlers in the world, even at age 55. But I'm the young gun, and I will go tooth and nail, blood and guts, like all grit, all heart is what I'm going to give him, and I did. And the crowd liked it. The crowd loved it. I got to the back, and everyone was telling me that they were just reacting. They were popping so big for everything. And I was just, you know, you envision these things in your head, and I don't think I ever want to watch the match back. But everyone was coming and telling me, they're like, dude, you look so good. You made him look so good. And they said you really stuck it to him. Like you were yourself through and through. You gave him just as much as he gave you, and that's what it was supposed to be. And I got to go in there and I got to roll around with one of the guys that got me back into wrestling, man. Like it's a crazy thing to think about, but I'm very happy I did it. And from all accounts, from them asking him and him telling me, he said he really enjoyed it, and he said I was very good. So to hear, you know, I've been wrestling for 6 years, so to hear that from a guy who's been doing it since 1988 is crazy. And you know, for 6 years, it's a I'm not going to say it's a testament, but it's a nice thing to hear after 6 years that one of your icons thinks you're great or thinks you're really good.
He's not only an icon in wrestling here in America, but specifically,
Mhm.
I just saw a picture of your dog for the first time, by the way, when I was looking through like Twitter and stuff. Coda, was that
Yeah,
what the name right? Was that
yeah.
the right name?
He just ran down the stairs. Yeah.
I love animals.